The morning sun was just rising over New Seoul when the first plasma bolts fell from the sky. Commander Park Jae-ho was drinking his coffee in the command center when the warning alarm started screaming. He dropped his mug and ran to the main display screen. "What is happening out there?" he shouted to his staff. Lieutenant Kim Min-soo was typing fast at his computer. His face was white with fear. "Sir, we have 17 large ships in orbit. They are not responding to our calls. They are charging their weapons." Jae-ho felt his heart stop. New Seoul was a peaceful colony. They had 3 million people living on this world. Farmers, teachers, doctors, children. They had no military weapons. They had no way to fight back against warships. "Send a message to all ships," Jae-ho ordered. "Tell them we are a civilian colony. We have no weapons. We mean no harm to anyone." The reply came back in less than a minute. The voice was cold and strange. It was translated by the computer but still sounded alien and dangerous. "This is Admiral Veltharan of the Vorthak Empire. You humans have built your colony in sacred Vorthak space. This is not allowed. You will surrender now and become our slaves, or you will die." Jae-ho stared at the screen. Sacred space? The humans had checked all the star maps before building New Seoul. No one had claimed this system. No one had said it was holy or special. "Admiral Veltharan," Jae-ho spoke into the microphone. "We checked all records before coming here. No one claimed this system. We are peaceful people. We can talk about this problem." The alien laughed. It was a terrible sound. "You humans think you can steal our holy places and then talk your way out. We do not talk with thieves. You have 1 minute to surrender. Then we start killing." Around the command center, people were crying. Some were praying. Others were calling their families. Everyone knew what was about to happen. The Vorthak were known across the galaxy as killers. They took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who stood in their way. Dr. Kim So-young was in the main hospital when the attack began. She was checking on her patients when the building shook like an earthquake. The lights went out. Emergency power came on with a red glow. Through the windows, she could see bright flashes in the sky. "All medical staff to emergency stations," she announced over the hospital speakers. "This is not a drill. Prepare for mass casualties." But even as she said the words, she knew it was hopeless. The plasma bolts falling from the Vorthak ships were not meant to wound. They were meant to kill everything they touched. The hospital would soon be full of people who could not be saved. The first wave of attacks hit the government buildings and communication centers. The Vorthak wanted to cut off any calls for help. They wanted to make sure no other humans would know what was happening until it was too late. Commander Jae-ho watched his screens go dark one by one. The orbital communication dish was gone. The main power plant was destroyed. The emergency broadcast system was smoking ruins. "Sir," called Lieutenant Kim, "we are getting reports from the outer districts. The aliens are targeting residential areas now. They are killing civilians." Jae-ho closed his eyes. 3 million people. Mothers holding their babies. Children playing in parks. Old people sitting in their gardens. All of them about to die because the Vorthak claimed this world was sacred. In the southern part of the city, teacher Lee Hae-jin was trying to keep her students calm when the school building caught fire. The children were screaming and crying. Some were calling for their parents who would never come. "Stay together," she told them. "Hold hands. We are going to the basement. Everything will be okay." But she knew everything would not be okay. Through the burning windows, she could see other buildings falling down. She could hear explosions getting closer and closer. The Vorthak were destroying everything. The few children who made it to the basement would live a few hours longer than the rest. But in the end, it would not matter. The Vorthak did not leave survivors. Back in the command center, Commander Jae-ho was recording his final message to Earth. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. He knew this message might be the only thing that survived the attack. "This is Commander Park Jae-ho of New Seoul Colony. Today is March 15th. The Vorthak fleet has attacked our world without warning. They claim this system is their sacred space. They gave us 1 minute to surrender and become their slaves. When we tried to talk, they started killing. The building shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Outside the windows, the sky was full of fire. We had no weapons," Jae-ho continued. "We never threatened anyone. We were farmers and teachers and doctors. We just wanted to build a new home among the stars. But the Vorthak do not care about that." Lieutenant Kim was crying now. His family lived in the northern district. The northern district was gone. Everything north of the river was just burning craters now. I am uploading all our sensor data and communication records, Jeho said to the camera. The galaxy needs to know what happened here. The galaxy needs to know what the Vorthak really are. They are not just conquerors. They are murderers. Dr. So-Young was still working in the hospital basement when the building above her collapsed. The main structure was gone, but the basement was built strong. A few hundred people were alive down there. Wounded, burned, dying, but still alive. Doctor, we need more medicine, called Nurse Park Minho. The radiation burns are getting worse. So-Young looked at her supplies. She had enough medicine for maybe 50 people. She had 500 patients. The math was simple and terrible. Most of them would die no matter what she did, but she would try anyway. She would try because that was what doctors do. They fight death even when death is winning. The Vorthak attack lasted exactly 47 minutes and 13 seconds. When it was over, New Sol was gone. The beautiful city that had taken 20 years to build was now a field of glass and ash. 3 million people had become 3 million ghosts. Commander Jeho was still alive in his deep bunker. So was Dr. So-Young in her basement. A few thousand others had found shelter in underground places, but everyone else was dead. The Vorthak ships hung in orbit like dark angels. Their job was done. They had wiped out another human colony. They had shown the galaxy what happened to people who took Vorthak sacred space. Admiral Veltherin sent one final message down to the burning world. Let this be a lesson to all humans. Stop expanding into our territory. Become our servants. Or watch your worlds burn one by one. This is the only warning you will get. Then the Vorthak fleet flew away. They had other business to attend to. Other worlds to threaten. Other people to kill. But they left behind something they did not expect. They left behind witnesses. Survivors who would remember. Humans who would carry the story of New Sol back to Earth. And humans, as the Vorthak would learn, have very long memories. The rescue ships arrived 3 days later. They found a dead world and a few thousand broken people. But they also found Commander Jeho's message. They found Dr. So-Young's medical records. They found proof of what the Vorthak had done. The galaxy would learn about New Sol. The galaxy would know about the murder of 3 million innocent people. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, humanity would start planning what to do about it. Because humans always pay their debts. And their revenge can shake worlds. Ambassador Choi Hyunwoo stood in front of the great mirror in his quarters on Proxima Station. His formal diplomatic clothes were perfect. His face was calm. But inside his chest, anger burned like a star about to explode. Today he would speak to the Galactic Council about New Sol. Today he would ask for justice for 3 million dead humans. He had practiced his speech many times. He knew exactly what he wanted to say. But he also knew the other species did not really care about human problems. The Galactic Council meeting hall was huge. It could hold thousands of beings from dozens of different worlds. The ceiling was so high that small clouds formed near the top. Everything was designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. Hyunwoo walked to the center of the hall. Around him sat representatives from 47 different species. Most of them were not even looking at him. They were reading their datapads or talking quietly to their assistants. Honored delegates, Hyunwoo began. His voice carried clearly through the hall's sound system. I come before you today to seek justice for a terrible crime. The unprovoked massacre at New Sol represents a clear violation of everything this council claims to protect. A few aliens looked up from their datapads. Most continued to ignore him. 3 million innocent civilians were murdered by the Vorthak fleet, Hyunwoo continued. Men, women, children. Farmers, teachers, doctors, people who never held a weapon, people who never threatened anyone. The Altarian delegate, Ambassador Velnara, finally spoke. She was a tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms. Her voice sounded bored. The Vorthak claim that system contains their sacred sites. Human colonization was illegal under their religious laws. Religious laws that were never filed with this council, Hyunwoo replied. Laws that were announced only after our people had already lived there for 20 years. The Vorthak waited until New Sol was thriving. Then they claimed it was sacred space and demanded we become their slaves. A ripple of uncomfortable movement went through the hall. Some delegates shifted in their seats. Others looked at their datapads more intently. They all understood what was really happening here. The Vorthak were strong. They had 12 star systems and hundreds of warships. Humans were new to space. They had only 19 colonies and a small fleet. In galactic politics, the strong did what they wanted. The weak suffered in silence. Speaker Thralgon of the hegemony stood up. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick gray skin and tiny black eyes. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "The Council sympathizes with human losses," he said slowly, "but we cannot interfere in territorial disputes without unanimous agreement." The Vorthak maintained their actions were legally justified genocide, Hyunwoo said quietly. The words hung in the air like a blade. Several delegates looked uncomfortable. The word genocide was not used lightly in galactic politics. It meant the deliberate killing of an entire group of people. It was the worst crime anyone could commit, but it was also exactly what the Vorthak had done. The trade mediator, a small green creature called Diplomat Zilpak, tried to smooth over the tension. Perhaps compensation could be arranged. Some form of payment for the unfortunate loss of life. Hyunwoo turned to stare at him. Compensation. For 3 million murdered civilians. He let the silence stretch out. How much is a human child worth, Diplomat Zilpak? What is the market rate for a murdered teacher? The little green alien squirmed in his chair. I merely suggest that financial reparations might help heal the wounds of this tragedy. The wounds of this tragedy, Hyunwoo repeated. Is that what we are calling genocide now? A tragedy, like a natural disaster or an accident. Ambassador Velnara spoke up again. Ambassador Hyunwoo, the Council understands your anger, but the reality of galactic politics requires practical solutions. The Vorthak are a major power. Humanity is still developing its position in galactic society. Hyunwoo looked around the hall one final time. He met the eyes of every delegate who would look at him. Most looked away quickly. They knew they were abandoning justice for political convenience. They knew they were choosing the strong over the weak. The Human Confederation appreciates the Council's wisdom in this difficult matter, he said formally. We will remember your response to our request for justice. We will remember who stood with us and who did not. Humanity has always had an excellent memory for such things. The formal language sounded polite to most aliens, but a few delegates who had studied human history felt a chill run down their spines. When humans talked about remembering things, it usually meant trouble was coming. Hyunwoo left the council hall without another word. His formal request for justice had been denied. The galaxy had made its position clear. Humans were on their own. Back on Earth, President Kim Da-yoon was meeting with her top advisors in the secure conference room deep under the Capitol building. The walls were lined with screens showing images from New Seoul, burning buildings, dead children, families that would never be whole again. The Galactic Council has given us their answer, she announced to the room. They will not act against the Vorthak. They suggest we accept compensation and move on. General Yang Sung-ho, the head of Earth's military forces, shook his head in disgust. Compensation for genocide. As if money could bring back 3 million people. The political reality is clear, said Foreign Minister Park Sang-ho. We are too weak to fight the Vorthak directly. Their bioships are larger and more advanced than anything in our fleet. President Kim stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over the city. Millions of people lived down there. Children playing in parks, families eating dinner together. People who trusted their government to keep them safe. Admiral Ko, she said without turning around. What is the status of our special research projects? Admiral Ko Jin-soo was in charge of humanity's most secret military programs. Projects that even most government officials did not know about. The Prometheus project is proceeding on schedule. First prototypes will be ready in 18 months. Full deployment in 3 years if we receive unlimited funding and resources. You have both, the president said immediately. Dr. Lim Yoon-ji was the head of Earth's Biological Research Division. She had been studying alien technology for years, looking for weaknesses that human forces could exploit. The Vorthak bioships use living neural networks for command and control. We have identified several potential vulnerabilities, but we would need live specimens to fully understand their systems. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. To get live specimens, they would have to capture Vorthak technology and personnel. That meant war, even if it was an undeclared war fought in the shadows. President Kim turned back to face the room. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were cold as winter space. Ladies and gentlemen, she said quietly, The Galactic Council has made their choice. They value political stability over justice. They value the comfort of the strong over the rights of the weak. She walked back to her chair but did not sit down. Humanity has always been very good at learning from our enemies. We study them. We understand them. And then we find ways to defeat them. She looked at each person in the room. The Vorthak think they have taught us our place in the galaxy. They think we will accept their genocide and beg for scraps of compensation. General Yang leaned forward. What are you suggesting, Madam President? I am suggesting that the Vorthak are about to learn something important about human nature. President Kim's smile was not pleasant. We never forget. We never forgive. And we always pay our debts. The meeting ended with new orders. The Prometheus project would receive all the resources it needed. The Biological Research Division would begin planning operations to capture Vorthak specimens. The intelligence services would start mapping Vorthak positions throughout their territory. Humanity was going to war. Not the quick open war that species usually fought. This would be a patient, methodical campaign of revenge that might take years to complete. But when it was over, the galaxy would understand something new about humans. They would understand that genocide has consequences. They would understand that some debts can never be paid with money. They would understand that humanity's revenge can shake worlds. In his private office, Ambassador Hyunwoo recorded a message for the historical archives. Today, the Galactic Council chose politics over justice. They chose the comfort of the powerful over the rights of the innocent. History will remember their choice. He paused, thinking about the dead of New Seoul. History will also remember what comes next. Captain Nam Woo-jin lay flat on his belly in the air vent above the Vorthak research station. His special suit made him almost invisible to their sensors. Below him, 3 alien scientists worked with samples of their own bioship technology. They had no idea that death was watching them from the shadows above. Finding the secret research station had taken 2 years. The Vorthak had built it in the neutral zone, far from any patrol routes. They thought they were safe here. They thought no one would ever find them. They were wrong. Woo-jin spoke quietly into his tiny microphone. Shadow 7 to control. I can see 3 targets in the main lab. They are working with live bioship samples. This is exactly what we need. Dr. Park Yoo-jin was listening from the human stealth ship hidden in the asteroid field. She was the leader of the capture mission. For months she had studied every piece of information about Vorthak technology. Now she was finally going to get her hands on the real thing. Understood, Shadow 7. Medical team is ready for immediate processing of samples. Begin the operation. Woo-jin had been a Special Forces soldier for 15 years. He had fought in 3 different wars before joining the secret anti-Vorthak program. But this mission was different from anything he had done before. This was not about winning battles or capturing territory. This was about understanding the enemy so completely that humanity could destroy them at the cellular level. The infiltration had taken 3 days to set up. Woo-jin's team had posed as maintenance workers for the asteroid mining equipment. The Vorthak barely noticed other species. To them, aliens were just tools to be used for simple jobs. Their arrogance was going to cost them everything. Woo-jin dropped silently from the air vent into the laboratory. The 3 Vorthak scientists were focused on their work. They never saw him coming. His weapon made no sound. One moment they were alive, the next they were dead on the floor. But Woo-jin was not interested in the dead aliens. He was interested in what they had been working on. On the laboratory tables were samples of living Vorthak bioship tissue, neural networks that pulsed with their own light, organic computers that could think and feel and control massive warships. This was the technology that made the Vorthak Empire so dangerous, and soon it would be humanity's weapon against them. Woo-jin carefully placed the samples in special containers designed by human scientists. The biotissue had to stay alive during transport. Dead samples would be useless for what Dr. Lim had planned. Shadow 7 to control. Package secured. Beginning extraction. The escape from the research station went perfectly. The Vorthak security systems were designed to keep intruders out, not to detect people who were already inside. By the time the dead scientists were discovered, Woo-jin's team was already jumping to hyperspace. Dr. Park Yoo-jin examined the samples as soon as they reached the human research ship. She had spent years studying fragments of dead bioship tissue. But these samples were alive. They were still connected to the Vorthak neural networks that controlled their technology. "This is incredible," she whispered to her assistant. "Look at these neural pathways. The biotissue is not just alive, it is conscious. Each bioship is actually a living creature that the Vorthak have enslaved to serve as their vehicle." The implications were staggering. The Vorthak did not just build ships, they grew them. They created living beings and then forced them to serve as weapons of war. It was slavery on a biological level, but it was also a weakness that humanity could exploit. The samples were rushed to the secret research facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Dr. Lim Yunji was waiting when the transport ship arrived. She had been preparing for this moment for 2 years. "Begin full neural mapping immediately," she ordered her team. "I want to understand every connection, every signal pathway. How do the Vorthak control these creatures? What happens when we disrupt their commands?" The work was delicate and dangerous. The bioship samples were still alive, still trying to communicate with their home networks across space. The human scientists had to be careful not to let the samples send any signals that might reveal the location of the research station. Dr. Lim worked 18 hours a day, studying the alien neural tissue under powerful microscopes. What she found was both fascinating and horrible. The Vorthak bioships were not willing partners in war. They were prisoners, living creatures that had been genetically modified and mentally enslaved to serve as weapons. The neural control systems were designed to cause pain if the bioships tried to resist their commands. "It is worse than slavery," Dr. Lim explained to her research team. "The Vorthak have created an entire species of living beings whose only purpose is to suffer and serve. But hidden in that horror was the key to defeating them. The bioship neural networks operated on specific frequencies. Like a radio that could only receive certain stations, the bioships could only respond to particular types of signals. If those signals were disrupted, the bioships would lose all control. More importantly, if the wrong signals were sent, the bioships would begin to die. The neural control frequency is the same across all bioship variants," Dr. Lim reported to President Kim in a secure video call. "If we can build a weapon that disrupts this frequency, we can kill entire fleets simultaneously." President Kim leaned forward in her chair. "How long would it take to develop such a weapon?" "The theory is sound. We understand the frequency patterns now. With unlimited resources, we could have prototype neural disruptors ready in 6 months." "You have unlimited resources," the president said immediately. "What about deployment? How many ships would we need to carry these weapons?" Admiral Ko Jin-soo joined the conversation from his headquarters on Mars. "The Prometheus fleet is ahead of schedule. We now have 43 ships under construction. Each one is equipped with stealth technology and long-range strike capabilities. They are unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen." General Yang added his own report. "Our intelligence networks have mapped all major Vorthak installations. Fleet positions, supply lines, command centers. When we move, we can hit them everywhere at once." President Kim studied the faces on her screen. These people had been working in secret for 2 years, preparing for a war that the Vorthak did not even know was coming. "How many Vorthak can we eliminate in the first strike?" she asked quietly. Admiral Ko consulted his data. Conservative estimate is 70% of their bioship fleet. Optimistic estimate is complete elimination of their naval forces and their homeworlds. Dr. Lim spoke carefully. "The enhanced neural disruptors could theoretically affect all biotechnology on a planetary scale. Every bioship, every living building, every organic system they use for communication and transportation." The room fell silent as everyone understood what that meant. The Vorthak civilization was built on biotechnology. If all of it died at once, their entire society would collapse. It would be the end of their empire. Possibly the end of their species. President Kim thought about New Seoul. 3 million dead humans. Children who would never grow up. Families destroyed by Vorthak arrogance and cruelty. "The Vorthak chose to make this war when they committed genocide," she said finally. "They could have negotiated. They could have shared the system. Instead, they chose to murder 3 million innocent people." She looked at each person on the screen. "Begin final preparations for Operation Payback. Target every Vorthak military installation simultaneously. I want their entire fleet eliminated in a single day." The meeting ended with new orders flowing to secret bases across human space. The Prometheus fleet would launch in 3 months. The neural disruptor weapons would be loaded and tested. Intelligence agents would confirm final target positions. Captain Nam Woo-jin was already planning his next mission. There were other Vorthak research stations to infiltrate, more samples to steal, more secrets to uncover. The Vorthak still had no idea that humanity was hunting them. They continued their normal routines, confident in their superior technology and military power. They sent threatening messages to human colonies. They demanded tribute from weaker species. They had no idea that their victims were watching every move, planning every counterstrike, preparing to end their empire forever. Dr. Lim worked through another night in her laboratory, perfecting the neural disruptor technology. Each test brought her closer to the weapon that would avenge New Seoul. The bioship samples pulsed weakly in their containers, their neural networks slowly dying as the human scientists learned all their secrets. Soon every bioship in the Vorthak fleet would follow them into darkness. The hunt was almost over. The kill was about to begin. Admiral Song Ji-woo stood on the bridge of the CNS Prometheus, watching the final system checks scroll across her displays. The ship was beautiful and deadly, built with technology that pushed the limits of human engineering. Around her, 36 other vessels hung in the darkness between stars like sleeping predators. Today they would wake up. Today they would show the galaxy what happens when humans go to war. "All ships report ready, Admiral," announced Commander Yoon Tae-hyuk from his tactical station. "Neural disruptors are charged and tested. Stealth systems are active. The Vorthak have no idea we are here." Song Ji-woo nodded. The Prometheus fleet had been built in secret over 3 years. Each ship was a masterpiece of human technology, stealth systems that could hide them from any sensor, neural disruptor weapons that could kill bioships from the inside out, and most importantly, crews that remembered New Seoul. "Intelligence confirms the target fleet is maintaining standard patrol formation," reported Lieutenant Kang So-ra from the sensor station. 17 bioships including Admiral Velthuren's personal flagship. "They are patrolling the system where New Seoul used to exist." The irony was perfect. The Vorthak were patrolling the graveyard of their victims, never knowing that those victims had come back for revenge. Song Ji-woo opened a communication channel to all ships in the fleet. "Attention all vessels. 3 years ago, the Vorthak murdered 3 million innocent humans in this system. Today we return that debt with interest. Remember New Seoul, remember our people, show no mercy." The response came back from 36 ship captains at once. For New Seoul, Admiral Velthuren was reviewing reports in his bioship command chamber when the first anomalies appeared on his sensors. Strange energy patterns in the outer system, probably just cosmic radiation or debris from old mining operations. Humans were known to leave junk scattered around their former colonies. Velthuren dismissed the readings without much thought. Humans built crude metal ships that broke down constantly. If there were any human vessels in the system, they posed no threat to his bioship fleet. He had no idea that death was already targeting his ships. The neural disruptor beams struck simultaneously across the entire Vorthak formation. Invisible weapons that passed through shields and armor like they were not even there. The bioships never saw the attack coming. Velthuren felt his ship convulse beneath him as the neural networks began to fail. The living walls of his command chamber rippled with spasms of pain. The bioship was dying and taking its crew with it. "What is happening?" He screamed at his communication creature, a living thing that served as his radio system. But the creature was already writhing in agony, its neural connections severed by the human weapon. All around the Vorthak formation, 17 bioships were experiencing the same horrific death. Their neural networks collapsed. Their organic hulls began to dissolve as the control systems that held them together failed. Crews died trapped inside ships that were no longer ships but rapidly decaying organic matter. On the Prometheus, Admiral Song watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. The neural disruptors were working exactly as Dr. Lim had promised. The bioships were dying like poisoned animals, unable to fight back or even understand what was killing them. "Admiral," Commander Yoon reported, "we are receiving a weak transmission from the Vorthak flagship. It appears to be Admiral Velthuren himself." Song Ji-woo smiled. She had been hoping for this moment. "Put him through." The transmission was distorted and weak, filtered through failing bioship systems. Velthuren's image flickered on the main screen, his alien features twisted with fear and rage. "What have you done?" he demanded. "What is this weapon? This is not possible." "Justice," Song replied simply. 3 million humans died at New Sol. Today you join them. Veltharan's eyes widened as he realized what was happening. You cannot do this. The Galactic Council will condemn this attack. You will be branded as terrorists. The Galactic Council had their chance to deliver justice. They chose politics instead. Song leaned forward in her command chair. Today humanity shows the galaxy what real justice looks like. We were defending our sacred space, Veltharan protested. Your people were trespassers. Your people were murderers, Song said coldly. Sacred space that was never registered. Claims that were made only after our people had lived there for 20 years. You killed 3 million civilians because they refused to become your slaves. The bioship around Veltharan continued to decay. Emergency lights flickered as the organic systems failed one by one. His crew was dying. His fleet was dying. And there was nothing he could do to stop it. Please, he said, his arrogance finally cracking. My crew had nothing to do with New Sol. They are innocent soldiers following orders. Song Jiwoo thought about the children who had died in New Sol schools, the doctors who had burned in their hospitals, the families who had been vaporized in their homes. Just like the innocents you murdered, she said. Tell your gods that humanity always pays its debts. With interest. The transmission died as Veltharan's flagship finally succumbed to complete cellular collapse. Song watched the debris field that had once been 17 Vorthak bioships, feeling no joy in the victory. This was not about pleasure. This was about justice. Signal Earth Command, she ordered. Phase 1 is complete. All enemy vessels destroyed with 0 human casualties. We are proceeding to Phase 2. Lieutenant Kang looked up from her sensor station. Admiral, I am detecting multiple Vorthak distress beacons throughout their territory. It appears our other strike groups are also engaging successfully. Song nodded. The attack on Veltharan's patrol fleet was just one part of a massive coordinated strike. All across Vorthak space, the Prometheus fleet was systematically destroying every bioship they could find. Supply stations were dissolving into organic sludge. Command posts were becoming tombs. The proud biofleet that had terrorized the outer systems was being exterminated in a single day. But this was still just the beginning. On his bridge, Commander Park Jae-min was leading the attack on a Vorthak research facility, the same type of facility where Captain Nam had stolen the bioship samples years ago. Now those stolen secrets were being used to destroy everything the Vorthak had built. Target the main biolaboratory, he ordered his weapons officer. Full neural disruptor spread. I want nothing left alive. The research station died in minutes, its living corridors and organic computers collapsing as their neural networks were severed. Hundreds of Vorthak scientists and soldiers died with their facility, trapped in a structure that was no longer capable of supporting life. Captain Lee Dong-ho was simultaneously attacking a Vorthak supply depot on the edge of their territory. The depot was a massive bioship graveyard where damaged vessels came for repairs. Now it would become their final resting place. Neural disruptors locked on target, reported his tactical officer. 53 bioships in various stages of repair. They are helpless. Fire, Lee ordered without hesitation. The supply depot died like everything else the humans had targeted. Bioships and repair bays dissolved into pools of organic matter. Repair facilities collapsed as their neural control systems failed. An entire industrial complex was reduced to radioactive sludge in less than an hour. Across Vorthak space, similar scenes played out as humanity struck at every target simultaneously. The neural disruptor weapons were more effective than even Dr. Lim had predicted. Not only did they kill bioships, they also destroyed any biological technology in the area. Communication networks failed. Transportation systems died. Even simple biocomputers used for basic functions stopped working. The Vorthak Empire was not just losing its military. It was losing its entire technological foundation. Admiral Song received reports from all strike groups throughout the day. Victory after victory, target after target eliminated. The Vorthak had no defense against weapons they did not understand, delivered by ships they could not detect. By the end of the day, over 300 Vorthak bioships had been destroyed. Dozens of military installations had been eliminated. Supply lines had been severed. The Vorthak Empire's ability to wage war had been crippled in less than 24 hours. But Admiral Song knew this was still not enough. The Vorthak homeworld remained untouched. Their civilian population was still alive. Their government was still intact. They could rebuild their biofleets given enough time. Humanity was not going to give them that time. All ships, set course for Velsoros, she ordered. Phase 3 is authorized. We end this war where it began, at the source. The Prometheus fleet turned toward the heart of Vorthak space, toward the homeworld that had never been threatened in its long history, toward the final reckoning that would determine whether humanity or the Vorthak would survive this war the Vorthak had taught humanity about, genocide at New Sol. Now humanity was going to teach them about consequences. The Vorthak homeworld of Velsoros had never been attacked in its 3,000-year history. The massive planet was protected by orbital defense platforms, 12 bioship fleets, and the absolute certainty that no species would dare assault the heart of Vorthak power. High Patriarch Velnokran sat in his living throne room, surrounded by walls that pulsed with their own heartbeat. The bioarchitecture of his palace had grown for centuries, fed by the blood of conquered worlds. Today, those walls were trembling with fear. The first reports had arrived 6 hours ago. 17 fleets destroyed in coordinated strikes across Vorthak space. Every outer system installation eliminated. Over 200,000 Vorthak warriors dead in a single day. Impossible, Velnokran declared to his war council. Humans lack the technology for such attacks. Their ships are crude metal boxes. Their weapons are primitive kinetic projectiles. War Master Velthuron disagreed. His bio-armor was scarred from a dozen campaigns, and his 3 eyes had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. The attack patterns show sophisticated planning and weapons we have never encountered. They struck simultaneously across 8 systems. This suggests stealth capabilities and coordination far beyond what we believed humans possessed. Then we destroy Earth, Velnokran decided. Gather all remaining fleets. We will burn their homeworld until nothing remains but ash and regret. But as the Vorthak mobilized their forces, they began to understand the true scope of the human operation. The attacks had not been random. Every target had been chosen to maximize damage, while forcing the surviving Vorthak forces to retreat toward their homeworld. The humans were not just winning battles. They were herding their enemies into a trap. Admiral Song Jiwoo studied the tactical display from her flagship as 12 Vorthak bioship fleets converged on Velsoros. The alien vessels were massive and beautiful, living ships that had conquered dozens of worlds. But they were also walking into the largest killing field in galactic history. Perfect, she said quietly. They are doing exactly what we predicted. Dr. Park Yoo-jin monitored the biological warfare systems from her mobile laboratory. 3 years of research had led to this moment. Enhanced neural disruptors are charged and ready. Planetary targeting systems are online. The entire bioinfrastructure of Velsoros is mapped and vulnerable. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Rather than fight the Vorthak fleets ship by ship, humanity would eliminate the biological foundation that made their civilization possible. Every bioship, every living building, every organic technology system on Velsoros would die, simultaneously. It would be genocide on a scale that the galaxy had never witnessed. All ships report ready for Phase 3, announced Commander Yoon from his tactical station. Planetary neural disruptors are locked onto primary targets. Awaiting your orders, Admiral. Song Jiwoo thought about New Sol. About 3 million dead humans who would never see this moment. About children who had died screaming in burning schools. About doctors who had tried to save lives while their world died around them. Phase 3 is authorized, she said calmly. Begin planetary sterilization. High Patriarch Velnokran felt the first tremors as his palace began to die around him. The living walls that had grown for centuries started to decay. The bioneural networks that controlled every aspect of Vorthak life began to collapse. The biogrid is failing, reported his technology symbiont, before it too succumbed to neural death. All systems are shutting down. The entire planetary network is collapsing. Outside the palace windows, Velnokran could see the great biocities of Velsoros beginning to rot. Living towers that had housed millions of Vorthak were dissolving into organic sludge. Transportation networks were failing as the biotubes that carried citizens between cities died and collapsed. In orbit above the planet, the 12 Vorthak fleets were experiencing the same horrific death. Bioships that had seemed invincible just hours ago were now floating graveyards, their crews trapped inside vessels that were no longer capable of supporting life. The enhanced neural disruptors worked exactly as Dr. Lim had designed them. Where the ship-based weapons killed individual vessels, the planetary systems eliminated all Vorthak biotechnology. across an entire world. The effect was instantaneous and absolute. Admiral Song watched the destruction through her ship's sensors. Velsoros had been one of the most beautiful worlds in the galaxy, its biocities growing like living coral reefs across continents. Now it was becoming a planet of the dead. "Admiral," Commander Yoon reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the planetary surface. It appears to be High Patriarch Velnokran himself." "Put him through." The transmission was weak and distorted, filtered through failing biocommunication networks. Velnokran's image appeared on the main screen, his alien features showing the same fear that human children had felt when the plasma bolts fell on New Sol. "You have doomed yourselves," he gasped. His breathing labored as his palace's life support systems failed. "The galaxy will see what humans truly are. Genocidal monsters who destroy entire civilizations." Song Jiwoo's expression never changed. "The galaxy already saw what we are when you murdered New Sol. The galaxy chose to do nothing. Today they learned that human patience has limits." "Please," Velnokran begged, his arrogance finally cracking completely. "There are younglings here, non-combatants, billions of civilians who had nothing to do with your colony." "Just like New Sol had civilians," Song replied coldly. "Just like you showed them no mercy when they begged for their lives." She leaned forward in her command chair, her voice carrying the weight of 3 million ghosts. "But we are not you, Velnokran. We do not murder civilians for pleasure. Evacuation ships are already en route to Velsoros. Any Vorthak who surrenders unconditionally will be relocated to designated agricultural worlds under human supervision. Your empire is ended, but your species can survive." Velnokran stared at her in shock. Even in their moment of total victory, the humans were offering mercy to their enemies. It was something the Vorthak would never have done. "Why?" he whispered. "Because we remember what it feels like to be helpless," Song said. "Because we remember watching our children die while no one came to help them. We will not become what you are." The transmission died as the last biocommunication nodes on Velsoros finally collapsed. Song Jiwoo sat back in her chair, feeling no satisfaction in the victory. 3 million humans were still dead. New Sol was still a radioactive crater. But justice had finally been served. "Signal all evacuation ships," she ordered. "Begin rescue operations immediately. Any Vorthak who surrenders will be treated according to the Galactic Conventions on Prisoners of War." Around Velsoros, human rescue ships moved in to save what they could of the Vorthak population. It was the largest humanitarian operation in galactic history, mounted by the same species that had just destroyed an entire civilization. The galaxy would remember both actions. The terrible swift justice and the unexpected mercy. Humanity had announced itself as a power that could destroy worlds but chose to save lives instead. Dr. Park Yoo-jin monitored the rescue operations from her laboratory ship. Preliminary estimates show approximately 60 million Vorthak civilians survived the biogrid collapse. They will need immediate medical attention and relocation to suitable worlds. "They will have both," Admiral Song replied. "Prepare a full report for Earth Command. The Vorthak Empire is eliminated as a military threat. Their surviving population will be resettled as refugees under human protection." The war was over. Humanity had achieved total victory in less than a week, but the real test would come next, when the galaxy learned how humans treated their defeated enemies. That test would determine whether humanity became the galaxy's greatest hope or its greatest fear. 6 months after the fall of Velsoros, Ambassador Choi Hyun-woo again stood before the Galactic Council. This time the chamber was packed with representatives from 63 species. The humans no longer sat in the back rows with the minor powers. They had been given seats at the center of the hall, where the major civilizations conducted their business. The galaxy had learned to take humanity seriously. "Honored delegates," Hyun-woo began, his voice carrying easily through the silent chamber. "The Human Confederation wishes to address recent concerns about our response to the Vorthak genocide." Every alien in the hall was listening. They had all studied the intelligence reports. They had all seen the tactical analyses. In 1 week, humanity had demonstrated military capabilities that exceeded most species' wildest estimates. The Altarian delegate, Ambassador Velnara, spoke carefully. Her forearms trembled slightly as she addressed the human representative. "The complete elimination of Vorthak biotechnology represents an unprecedented assault on an entire civilization. The complete elimination of New Sol represented an unprecedented assault on 3 million innocent humans, Yunwu replied. The Galactic Council's response was to suggest we accept money as compensation for genocide. An uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Every delegate remembered that day. They remembered choosing political convenience over justice. They remembered abandoning humanity when it needed help most. We found that response inadequate, Hyunwoo continued. Speaker Thralgon of the hegemony shifted in his massive chair. The scope of the human retaliation has raised questions about proportionality under galactic law. Hyunwoo smiled, an expression that made several delegates step backward unconsciously. Proportionality. Let me explain proportionality to you, Speaker Thralgon. He activated a holographic display showing the Prometheus fleet positions throughout known space. The Human Confederation now maintains rapid response forces in 47 systems. These ships carry weapons specifically designed to eliminate any civilization that chooses to commit genocide against human populations. The display expanded, showing technological capabilities that most species could barely comprehend: enhanced neural disruptors, planetary sterilization systems, weapons that could end civilizations in hours. Any species that murders human civilians will face immediate and total retaliation, Hyunwoo said quietly. Not in months. Not after diplomatic protests. Immediately. The trade mediator, diplomat Zilpak, attempted to restore some calm to the proceedings. Perhaps we could discuss new frameworks for conflict resolution, procedures that prevent such extensive responses in the future. By all means, Hyunwoo agreed. Let me suggest some new frameworks. The holographic display changed, now showing detailed intelligence on every major military installation in the galaxy. Base locations, fleet strengths, technological capabilities. The humans had been watching everyone. The Human Confederation offers peaceful coexistence to all species. We provide advanced technology, medical assistance, and protection from aggressive powers. Our scientists will share discoveries that could benefit every world in the galaxy. He paused, letting the offer sink in. But we will not tolerate genocide. We will not accept the murder of human civilians. And we will not forgive those who choose to make themselves our enemies. Ambassador Velnara found the courage to speak again. You are threatening the entire galaxy. We are making a promise to the entire galaxy, Hyunwoo corrected. The same promise we made to the Vorthak. The same promise they chose to ignore. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate who would look at him. Humanity remembers everything. Every act of kindness shown to us. Every moment of cooperation and friendship. We repay these debts with generous interest. His voice became harder. We also remember every act of aggression. Every crime committed against our people. We repay those debts as well. The formal session ended with no votes and no official declarations, but as the delegates filed out, they all understood that the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had announced itself as a power that could not be ignored or safely antagonized. President Kim Da-eun received the diplomatic reports in her office on Earth. Outside her window, the memorial to New Sol caught the afternoon sunlight. 3 million names carved in black stone, each one representing a life cut short by Vorthak arrogance. The galaxy understands us now, she told her cabinet. They know we can be their greatest ally or their worst nightmare. The choice is theirs. Admiral Ko Jin-soo consulted his intelligence reports. 17 species have already requested formal alliance treaties. The hegemony is proposing a new mutual defense pact. Even the Altarians are reconsidering their position on human territorial expansion. And the Vorthak survivors? President Kim asked. General Yang opened his files on the resettlement program. 62 million Vorthak have been relocated to 12 agricultural worlds under human supervision. Their basic needs are met. Their population is stable. Many of their younger generation have requested to join human research programs. They want to work with us? President Kim was surprised. The young ones understand that their old empire was built on conquest and cruelty, General Yang explained. They see humanity as offering a different path, a chance to be part of something better than what they lost. President Kim nodded thoughtfully. What about other species? How are they reacting to our new position in galactic affairs? Foreign Minister Park Sang-ho smiled. Trade requests have increased by 400%. Scientific cooperation proposals arrive daily. 3 species have offered to share their most advanced technologies in exchange for human protection. And the military situation. Admiral Ko looked pleased. No hostile actions against any human colony since Velsoros. Pirates avoid our shipping lanes. Border disputes are being settled through negotiation rather than force. It appears that news of our capabilities has spread throughout the galaxy. President Kim stood and walked to the window overlooking the memorial garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city beginning to twinkle in the gathering darkness. The Vorthak taught the galaxy an important lesson, she said quietly. They showed everyone what happens when you murder innocent humans and expect no consequences. She turned back to face her advisors. But we have taught the galaxy an even more important lesson. We have shown them that power without mercy is just tyranny, that strength without compassion is just brutality. Dr. Lim Yunji had joined the meeting by video link from her new research facility on Europa. The neural disruptor technology is being adapted for medical use. We can now treat previously incurable neural diseases in dozens of species. The same weapon that destroyed the Vorthak Empire is saving lives across the galaxy. Perfect, President Kim said. Let that be humanity's legacy. Not just that we can destroy civilizations, but that we choose to heal them instead. Admiral Song Jiwoo appeared on another video screen from her flagship patrolling the outer systems. Long-range sensors show increased peaceful contact between previously hostile species. It appears that fear of human intervention is encouraging diplomatic solutions to conflicts. President Kim smiled. The Pax Humana. Peace through the certainty of consequences. The meeting continued for another hour, but the main points were clear. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had demonstrated the power to destroy civilizations while choosing to use that power for protection and healing. 6 months after New Sol's destruction, the galaxy was a more peaceful place. Not because humans had conquered it, but because they had proven that genocide would not be tolerated by anyone, anywhere at any time. In the deep archives of the Galactic Council, a new entry appeared in the diplomatic files. Humanity, classification, major galactic power, status, protector species. Recommendation, full cooperation advised. Do not threaten human civilians under any circumstances. The entry was marked with the highest priority and distributed to every member species. Below it, someone had added a personal note. They remember everything, and they always pay their debts. As night fell on Earth, President Kim stood alone in the memorial garden. 3 million names surrounded her in the darkness, each one lit by a small eternal flame. The dead of New Sol would never be forgotten. Their sacrifice had changed the galaxy forever. You are avenged, she whispered to the memorial stones, and your deaths have made the galaxy safer for everyone. Above her, the stars looked down on a changed universe. A universe where genocide had consequences. A universe where the strong protected the weak instead of preying on them. A universe where humanity had proven that their revenge could indeed shake worlds, but their mercy could heal them. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.